Hey there, everybody. I put together this prototype because I felt it had a good number of fundamentals and foundational concepts that I think would be great for you to learn, and then, of course, leverage it and implement it into your own prototypes. Let me do a quick walkthrough of it, and I'll call out some highlights. Basically, I am chaining a navigation bar to a scroll container. So the scroll offset is working in conjunction with the navigation as well as that little tick mark on the side. Of course, changing the color of the background, some scroll events. I added a conditional that has some cool sound effect. And a bottom sheet that is actually a component. So I'm going to show you how I hook up a component into a main scene. Okay, then without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we are back in ProtoPie, or we are now in ProtoPie. I'm going to set up this file and start bringing some assets in. So let's change the dimensions first, tapping on the dimension readout here at the top. I want to go to custom. I'm going to select the width and the height, and let's do 956 by 594 at a density of 2, and I do not need the status bar. Okay, that's kind of bright for me, so I'm going to just make the background, change the background color to gray, and I am going to call the scene main. And let me just save this. I'll call it WIP for work in progress, save it on my desktop, bam. Okay, and let's bring in some assets. I'll go to Figma. Here is the layout. I designed it over here, and then I made the assets for each card over here. I'll get into this range stuff later, but all of these are the same exact size. They are all 688 by 594, and I have some color chips. I want to point out that I have these called Sec 1, Sec 2, Sec 3, Sec 4, but if I brought those in, they would all come in, let me show you, they would all come in as scenes in ProtoPie, and I don't want a bunch of scenes. I just want them to be assets that go inside of the main scene that I created. So what you can do is just shield, you can make them into groups, but I like working with frames because I like the cropping properties of frames in Figma. So I'm just going to add a group on top of this. Doesn't matter. And you can see here that it says one scene, and when I make a frame a group, it turns into an object. Those frames were at the top level of this Figma canvas, and I believe that is why it is coming in as a scene, because ProtoPie believes that if you're using a frame at a top level, it might be a new sort of artboard. So let's bring those in, and let's include these color chips that I'll just use for the backgrounds, and I'm going to export these 8 objects. And you can see it's processing here, and it's also processing here at the bottom of ProtoPie. So let's watch them get imported. All right. All right, they're all imported. We have some sort of cubism thing going on here with this. Something's going on where ProtoPie just couldn't understand what was going on with it. I don't know why, but something was up with this particular illustration. So I'm going to delete it, and I found that to troubleshoot it, one, you could always make these into PNGs, high-res PNGs, and bring them in with transparent backgrounds. But what I did is I took this illustration out. I made sure that inside there were no groups within groups within groups, because that's how it originally was. I have it in a group at the top level of the Figma document, and I'm going to export this one object. And for some reason, it works. Again, if you can't make something work, you can always make it into a high-res PNG. All right, so I'm going to put her into this section, but here, let's select all of these groups and get rid of, let me drag this down. Let's get rid of the top level group. So I Shift Command G, and now I am where I want to be, where I have it section 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let me reorder these. Okay, and now section 3 is where we're missing that illustration. Okay, illustration goes on the bottom. You can drag it around. And I can't see what I'm doing because there's a transparent background on black, so I'm just going to give it a bit of a fill color just so I can see what I'm doing, and then I'm going to eyeball this. That looks good to me, and I believe it's similar to this. Okay, we're cropping the feet and the hand, and obviously it doesn't need to be pixel perfect. It's just placing an image for a tutorial. So we are good to go. All right. So we have these. Let me get rid of that background fill. We want it to be transparent because we need a background color. ProtoPie cannot animate its canvas color. So we're going to draw a rectangle. I hit the R key, or you could go up here to shape and just go to R. And I'm going to drag out an image. I'm going to look at 956 by 594, 0, 0, 956 by 594, and that is done. And I'm going to use my picker to just highlight that, and I'm going to call this BG color, drag that to the bottom, and let's move all of these section cards to the right side. And so I know this might be distracting having this pink, so let's move it over here for the time being. I'm sorry, let me change the color for the time being. So let's move the section to the right. And so I selected it, and then I'm using this guy right here, this alignment tool, and then I'm positioning it to the top. And then I am selecting all of them, and I'm going to select the right positioning. And then now I'm going to snap these together so there's no space between them. You can kind of snap them together. When you're using the tool, it's more of a feel thing. And there is a little bit of a guideline that helps. So these are now positioned subsequently to one another. And let's bring in those sound effects. I believe you can drag them, but for ProtoPie tutorial, but let me just use the drop down to import them correctly. So they'll never show up. That, see, is it's a sound effect file. It's if I looked at the preview, it is not going to show up inside, but it is distracting to have. And now for the logo and the nav bar, I'm just going to pull it from the thing that the other prototype that I set up, because I actually labeled them out and it's just easier for me. All right, so I'm just going to reorder this stuff. Get the progress pick down here, and these are sort of the utility things that that I don't want in my prototype, so they are at the top. Okay, I believe that is correct. I'm good to go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to select each section. I'm going to Command G, make it into a container. I'm going to call it scroll container. And we want this to be scrollable. If I went in right now and let me go see this scroll, it will not scroll because I need to make the container the size of the viewport that I want to see scrolled. And right now it's matching the contents. So let's make it the same size as this entire canvas, or main size vertically. So that's 594. So I selected it. I could go down and eyeball it and drag it, which I probably do all the time. And by the way, if you want to use clip sublayers, you can clip it down here. That way it makes you feel more like you're cropping it. But you can also have it, while it's selected, go into the height property and type in 594. Okay. And let me get that scroll container so I can see all of my contents. I'm going to unclip it. Okay. So now if you went back in to preview, this does not work, and that's because I actually didn't make it a scroll container. So I have it selected. Every group can be changed into a scrolling container by literally just selecting it, tapping on scroll. It defaults into a vertical scroll, and that's it. Now it will work. You can drag it, you can use your mouse. Okay, so that's the first step. Everything is great, and let's start working on the hooking up the navigation to go to the correct section. I'm going to select nav1, and which is button 1, and I'm going to add a trigger, just simply the tap trigger. It's right here. You could also select the object you want to interact with on this dropdown, but it's already selected. So I'm going to press the escape key to get rid of that dropdown, and now I'm going to add the response when I tap on this button. So I want it to be, where are you? Scroll, because I want to scroll. And what do I want to scroll? I do want to scroll the scroll container. I'm getting more comfortable just typing in, doing the search. So I'm going to start doing that more often, or try to. So I want to scroll to, and we're going to do something really cool. We're going to use a formula, and we're going to leverage a predefined variable that ProtoPie has made. It is on their website. They have a bunch of them, but basically they make it so they took a bunch of properties for objects like X value or Y value or width or height. And that way, if you define what you want to know, in this case, we want to know the Y, where on the Y axis a certain section card is, then we can find that out using a predefined variable. So I'm going to use the tilde and type in so I can get all of my layers. And because we have so many freaking vector items and stuff, and that's why PNGs are also nice to use, we are going to do a search for sect1. So sec1 is the card. I'm going to hit the enter key, and now to get the predefined variables, I'm going to tap on the period, and I'm going to say simply Y. That's all I want. So I have access to all of these property values on the section card, but I want to choose Y, and that's it. Okay, so basically what I did is when I tap on this button, I want to scroll to section 1's Y position. And the Y position, by the way, I'm going to go to scroll container and just show you. It is on the top left. So if you did want to play around with different Y axes or different things that you want to, what properties or how properties are set up. Sorry, I'm not explaining that well, but you could like change up your orientation too. And that's an interesting way to also manipulate how you do things. But we have it at the top left, so it'll always align here at the top. And that's why I have things set up in a certain way. All right, so let's do this for the other sections. I'm going to, by the way, I'm going to call this nav1. Yikes, nav1. I know that this symbol means tap, and then that's really it. We're going to come back to this later and do some cool stuff, but I'm going to close this up. You can copy and paste this, call this nav2, select nav2. Let me open it up, and then go here. I'm going to change this to 2. It's just a quick thing, and I'm going to just select those two. And just, I know we have we keep on adding little interaction cards, but you can close them, you can copy and paste them, so you can, once you get comfortable, you can move around and do things fairly quickly. So this is sec3, and then sec4, and you could always change the animations. I have it on ease in, ease out. That's whatever, fine. We can do it at 0.6. You could always do like the first one, I want it to be like super fast, or I want it to be like 0.3, and then the last one, you know, it's 0.6 is fine. You can make these very unique to how you want it set up. But let's preview this. And I obviously messed up somewhere. Okay. That's because I set this up. I have nav3 still on nav1, so it's great to troubleshoot and it's easy to kind of figure things out. So we should be fine now. And I'm going to change all the scrolls so they're 0.6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Okay, first one's fine. I go to the second one. I can go back to the first one. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, great. All right, we're done. You just set up, I guess, anchor links. Let's consolidate these into one overarching group. So I select them all, Command G, and then let's just call it anchoring the nav items. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is give these non-active buttons, these guys over here, we're going to give them hover over and hover out, and we're going to make it so there's a condition that says if it is an active button, don't do anything. Okay, so let's start with the first one, nav1. So we'll add a trigger. And we'll say mouse over. And we're going to have to do these for both mouse over and mouse off. But you can also do a lot of copying and pasting to try and make the workflow a bit faster. So we do have nav1 set up because I had it selected when I did add the trigger. And the first thing we're going to do is we can say, let's just add the condition quickly. So the condition is if the pill color, and that's inside of this group, if the pill color is not equal to 100%, then do something. And I want to do a highlight. So I want to do, let's do the color. And let's select the pill color. And let's give it a color of FFF at 30, and that's white at 30%, and we can leave it at 0.2. I know that ProtoPie likes you to use the hex value, the actual like hashtag, so that's why it's still giving me problems. I don't know. So what we did is we said when I hover over nav1, if the, I'm glad I went back here because I need to say fill opacity. So the fill opacity, let me just dig in here. The fill opacity is, see it says fill, 100% at white, 100% of the fill. That's what we're targeting our condition to. So we're saying when I take a mouse or the finger indicator thing, and I hover over that button, the condition says if the pill color and the fill opacity of the pill color, if it is not equal to 100, then please do this thing. And this is color highlight on. Color highlight on. And I can call this condition something, in plain text to help you understand. If fill color is not at 100%, okay? And so that should work. And then let's do the next thing, which is the mouse out. So I'm selecting, again, I have nav, and I'm just looking at my notes for a second just to see what I did. So bear with me. So I'm adding another trigger. I'm doing mouse out, and I have nav1 selected still. I'm going to steal this, and I'm going to add it here because it's the same condition. And I wanted to say highlight off. And I want that highlight to be to go back to its original, which was it was at 10%. So let's see if this works. Oh, it's on the first one, so it doesn't matter. We can't see it. But you can see nothing's happening because if I didn't set it up right, this would have gone to some like 30% and then 10%. So that's great. So we got the first one out, and I'm going to just add nav1 just so I can read this one when I go back to it. Awesome. All right, so now we just have to copy these two and paste these two, and let's just start filling in the new values. And be careful, I always mess up stuff, so just be sure you select this and then you can select them both at the same time, and then go to nav2 and change this. No, you can't select them both at the same time. Pill color 2, and then pill color 2. So you see how like kind of simple it is. It's just a little bit of like legwork, but if you understand it, it's not that bad. So let me go change them to pill color 2 and pill color 2. I'll follow the same pattern and do the next two items. Okay, it looks good. The hovers are working. Okay, let's select these items in the interaction panel. We'll group them and we'll call them mouse over plus out. Okay, so the next part of this tutorial is how we're going to set up the scroll, so when I'm scrolling and I hit a new section like the next one, the second one, it would highlight this second button and change the color background. And of course, if I get to the third, it would change this third button into being the one that's highlighted, so on and so forth. Okay, so we're going to do something, a quick little trick is to set up a variable that tells us what the scroll offset is. A variable, there's a lot of tutorials out there, but a variable is a way to store a value of an object. So we're going to do it for this scene. I'm going to call it scroll, and I'm going to use a formula that's out of the box. ProtoPie made it, and it's free, and you don't really have to do any like work to figure it out. So I'm going to keep it on number. I'm going to use a formula. I'm going to do a little bit of what we did in the other formula before, which is I need to define what I want to read. So I'm going to use the tilde, or I could always use the plus. And I'm going to look for scroll container, because that's what I want to focus on. And then I'm going to use the period to get all of the properties that I can record the values from. And I want to use scroll offset. And I'm going to press OK. And now, to show you how this is working, I can press this little ladybug here. I can bring this into the middle, and when I go into preview mode, you can see this little guy. When I go to self-care, the second section, it goes to 594. And then 1188 when I go to the third section. And if I scroll, you can also see it highlighting in real time, or showing me where I am on the scroll in real time, which is pretty cool. Okay. I also, if you remember, I also showing, and I'll get to this when I talk about ranges, but I also in Figma drew up this range. So I already knew the numbers that I wanted to go for, but if you didn't do all of that and your scroll is a lot more or less equal, you could always use this little trick right here. And equal meaning I have every box at 594 high, but if you have asymmetrical like vertical heights, that's this is a good way to go. Okay, so we're going to use range, the range trigger. And the range trigger is a conditional that you get out of this add trigger panel. It's right here. And it's this conditional that fires instructions when an object's property transitions inside of the range that you defined. So it's going to be a little easier to understand when I start doing it. So let's go set up one, and I think it'll be easy to understand at that point. So let's do range, and I'm going to call this section or sec1 live. And this is going to be the live area or the live real estate in the prototype of when I want to fire off some instructions. And I want to use, the first one I want to use this guy right here, which is anything that's less than or equal to the number I give, please fire off, make active. I'm not sure how to say it. So I want to say 593, and I want to say 593 and 594 rather than 594 is because from 0 to 593 is when I want this section to be the live section, because when I go to the second section, it's going to be on 594, and we can't have two 594s competing against each other. I can't do this. ProtoPie just won't know what to do. We have to give a pixel difference. So every section is going to be 1 pixel less. So let's go into ProtoPie again and set this up. So I have 593, and I want to, of course, say scroll container up here, and I want to, the property that I want to focus on is the scroll property. Okay, so what's going to happen is everything that is within 0 to 593 pixels, that's when I want to fire off these instructions, and I want to do some color changes. So I'm going to do color, color, color. And the first one is background color. The second one, let's do pill color, which is the background of the button. And then the third one, let's do text color, and this is the label color. Okay, so all of these we have to change. We have to change the backgrounds. Sorry, we have to change the objects that we're trying to affect. So BG color, and I want to go to the pink. I know it's right there, but I'm just going to be official and use this eyedropper on that little color chip, and I'm going to give it a fill opacity of 100. Okay, and let's do a little transition of like 0.5. So it'll take 0.5 seconds to ease into that color. The pill color, I will give pill color 1. I want to give this 100% white because I want it to be the way it looks here on my default. I want that to be 100, and let's make this instant. Okay, and then text color, ooh, that's not good. Pill, label 1, and I want to go 100% black, and I want to say 100. Okay, and let's go. Great. So I see one thing that I need to troubleshoot. Obviously, it's a black square instead of black text. But you'll see that the color of the background is pink, and we are still, this button is full on white, which is the active state. And that's what we want on this first section. The reason why that black is there is because you'll notice I have background on fill and not the text. I want the text to be 100% black. So let me change that, and I'll get rid of that background style. And if we go back, now it says laptop love in plain text. Sorry, 100% black. And so so we have the live section, but we have to tell ProtoPie, well, okay, what do you want to do when you're outside of that section? And so what we're going to do is add another range trigger, and we're going to call it sec1 dead zone. You can call it like, let's call it dead. I know that's ominous, but so be it. All right, so we're looking at the scroll container. We want to affect the scroll property. Let me just plug in the number 594. So anything that's less than or equal to 594, please be the dead zone. So I used this one rather than this one. I know this is a little confusing, but I guess in this case it's a vertical. So I did put this here just to show you that it might be easier to see. Right now, we are setting up this little arrow that's going downwards. So this is the dead zone versus this. So this is a little bit of what we're doing. So you can see how this little arrow is going up. That's the live area. This is the down area. And the next thing we're going to do is start using this little guy right here, which is kind of more simpler to understand, which is two values that make a range. Okay. So where was I? I'm setting up this dead zone, and I'm going to say, you can see everything that is 594 to infinity, please call that the dead zone. So we have here 594 forever, call the dead zone. So I am going to just put in the two properties here. I don't need to do background color because that's already a part of the other sections will handle making that live color. They'll handle their changing of the colors. And so on the background, on the pill color, we're going to go to, I think it's 20% fill. And then the text color is 100% white. Okay, and let's set up the other sections, and then I will then go on fast forward so you don't have to watch me do a lot of repeat work. So let's do section 2 and section 2 dead. So you can see I'm just doing a lot of copying and pasting here. I'm changing the background color for section 2 to this blue. Okay. I am changing the pill color. Be sure that you change these. Pill color 2, text color, pill label 2. Okay. And then I can copy and paste those guys, delete that. And now these are referencing the correct object, which is the pill color and the label color. So I'll change this color. When this is live, I want this to be 100% white. And I want this to be 100% black. Okay, this is looking good. And now let's change the ranges. So here, let's go back to Figma. So between 594 and 1187, I want section 2 to be live. So I want to use this guy, 594 to 1187. Did I get that correct? Yeah, I am. Here, I want to go outside of that range that I just defined, which is 593 to 1188. All right, let's look in a preview and see if this works. So I do have a little bit of a mess up here. And let's see what I did. The pill color. I need to shut this off, so I need that to be 20%. There we go. Let's see if I got it right. And of course, I never changed them to what they should be, which is 100%. Okay. So now I'm on the second section, and when I go to the first section, it shuts off the second section. Now I am going to fast forward this and just do the other sections really quick. Let's group these, and we'll call it ranges to highlight nav pills. So the next thing we're going to do is chain the scroll of this scroll container and have the property of that scroll container affect the properties of this progress pip. And the property that we're going to zero in on is the Y, is the movement on the Y axis. Okay, so let's add a trigger called chain. We're going to target the scroll container. That's the object we want to look towards, and the property we want to zero in on and chain from is the scroll. And we define that, and now let's add a response, and it's going to be move. And we're going to move the progress pip. Okay, so the range is the scroll. So we want to go from, and this is a good example of when to use this little variable that we set up. I just activated the ladybug. I'm going to go into preview because I want it to match with the sections. And so I have, we're clearly at 0 at the top when I hit laptop love, the first section. And I want to know what happens when I get to the bottom section, which is relaxation is key. So, and I don't want to have the pip go beyond the start point. I want it to go kind of match exactly what these buttons are. So it is 1782, and that's where the last section starts. So it's pretty simple. We want to go from 0 to 1782. 1782. So this is the range we want to base our movement off, and we don't want to deal with the x-axis. We want to deal only with the y. You could do both and go on some sort of downward diagonal motion, but I don't think that is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to do the start and stop for the progress pip. And if you want to know where things lay on the canvas, all you have to do is just select it. Let's select the progress pip, and we can see it goes to 85. And if I know where it's going to end because I can find out right here. I can select that progress pip, select this nav, and I can quickly shoot it down, bottom align it, and then see that it ends on 241. Okay? So 85 to 241, I believe I just said. 85 to 241. So you're defining the ranges. Move, progress, pip, chain, scroll to pip. Okay, let's see if this works. That's it. Remember that bottom sheet that we had in the other file, the final file? If you recall, it looked like this. So a user would scroll to the bottom and then you can drag up and activate this bottom sheet. I have it so when we drag up to 1910, it fires off a message to a component that I'll show you how to make. It'll tell the component to start working. And that's called using messages. And we use a send and a receive message. So I'm going to show you how to make this. I didn't design that bottom sheet in Figma or anything. I did it directly in ProtoPie. So I am going to copy the design from this component in the final document, and I'm going to start making it, I'm going to use those assets in our work in progress. So the first thing is, you could always make a component. I just want to let you know, you could always make a component on the main scene if you'd like. A lot of people do that. I do as well. We can call it a square. And if I made that square this color and I right click and I do create component, or I do Command K, or you could select it and hit the in the toolbar component icon or button, you now have a component that you can see here. Now I open up this drawer and I can pull out a few more, and I can double click into this, and here's my component area, and I can actually go inside of the container and select the contents inside of this container, which is called square, and I can alter it. I can change the color. I can give it some different radius. Okay, and now if I go back out into the main scene, you'll see that that's how they look. And of course, you could also you have certain properties that you can change inside of the component on a scene. Let's say I want to put that radius to 25. So this is still a component, but if I pulled out another one, another component from the component drawer, it would still be the same one that we see. And if I manipulated this color again, let's make it like that color, and let's make it an absolute square. You know what, let's make it a circle. That means that the one that I did alter it's not affected. So it works very much like components in other tools, especially like Figma. So let's delete this. That was a little tangential lesson. So let's do the real one. I'm going to go into components, and I'm going to hit this little plus sign, and I'm going to make that bottom sheet component. So right off the bat, I have a little container, and it's called component 1, and I'd like to call it bottom sheet. And you can also label things right here underneath the thumbnail square. So this white is really a little too much, so let me change the color. This color has nothing to do with anything you're going to see in the prototype, so you can change it to any color that helps you see better. I am going to use this container. I'm going to make it the same size as the dimensions. So let me do 956 by 594. Okay, and I'm going to paste in. If you remember, I did paste in from this final document. I have a screen that is at full black at 50%, and I'm going to use the opacity as how I'm going to 0 to 100. I'm using the opacity to show you the screen off and the screen on. But it is black and it's at 50%. So let's turn that back to 0. And then this little content thing, that's the actual content of the bottom sheet. This is currently, let's select it in the layer panel, and it's at 595. And that means it's 1 pixel outside of the 594 dimensions. So if I did have my clipped sublayers, it would delete. So let's put it back on so we can see what we're doing. And what we're going to do now is set up a bunch of interactions. Now you could start off and say receive, and I could put a message here that to say what kind of message I want to receive from the main component. But first I want to get my interactions right. And I'll show you how to do the receive in a second. But to test how this works, let's put a square in to act as something that I can tap that will actually make this this bottom sheet come alive. So I'll call this temporary button. And I'm going to give it a tap trigger. Where are you? There you are. And now I'm going to add some responses. I'm going to move that bottom sheet, which is the content, and I'm going to move that to, I believe it's at 142. There it is, to 142 on the y-axis. So let's put that in. Move content, move to 142 on the y-axis. And let's give it a 0.4 duration. And I want the scrim to go from 0 to 100 on the opacity. So I'm going to need to do, I'm going to label this first. Ooh, contents. I'm going to do opacity as a response, and I'm going to say opacity scrim, and I'm going to change that to scrim opacity to 100, and we'll do it the same duration 4. So if I went into preview and I tapped on this, I would have my bottom sheet. But you see, I didn't hook up the close button yet. I would have to use refresh to see how it works again. So let's close this up. And now let's simply copy these two. We're going to add another tap trigger. This time we're going to use the continue button. The continue button is just this button that I made in ProtoPie. It is a shape with some text in it. And let's go back to the interaction panel. And button continue, I want to reset these things. So what I do, a lot of people use reset, but I'm just going to copy these two guys, and I'm going to say move content back to 595, and I'm going to make the scrim close or go to 0 opacity as well. But I want to change the duration. I want this to happen first, so I want it to be 0.2. So let's see if this works. Great. All right, awesome. It works well. Okay. So now let's get rid of this button. We tested the interactions. We know it works. And now let's add a receive trigger. So if I mentioned it before, that's great. I am not sure if I recall it. And you can go, if you click these little icons that say it's a question mark, it'll take you right to the website and give you documentation on this. But this is basically the receive trigger that you will need to receive a note from the main area of the prototype, which is this area. So let's go back into the component. I'm going to say receive, and this is, by the way, is orange if you're not familiar with this, because I removed the button. It doesn't exist. So it's saying something's wrong and we need you to tell us what to do, because it's looking for that rectangle that I did delete. But we don't need that anymore. We're concerned now with receiving a message. So I want to receive a message from the current scene. So when I'm on the main scene, I want the prototype to say, hey, component, I need you to start doing something. And then we're going to say receive from current scene. I believe it would work if we did say receive from parent, but current scene is how it should be in this very scenario. We're going to make a message, and here you can write any message you want. You can say, I love T Swift. Okay, I love Taylor Swift. That could be the message. It's not going to be the message in this case. I'm going to say open modal, because that's a little more conversational and human when you're trying to remember a lot of things. Don't make your messages really bizarre and esoteric where somebody else can't understand, or even yourself. So we're going to say open modal. That's the message we want to receive to make this stuff happen. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it under that. I'm going to delete this. And I believe if I close it up, can I move them? There we go. Okay, a little finicky, but receive to open modal, and then tap to close. Okay. Now we need to use this same message, and we need to send it to the component. So on the main scene, we're going to use a trigger to actually fire off this message. And the trigger we're going to use is range. And if you recall, we need to scroll. We need to look at the scroll container, and we need to look at the scroll offset of that scroll container. And we want to say anything that is equal to or below 1910, I want you to fire off something. And in this case, we're going to use send. And I'm going to like drag my component onto this, and I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to get rid of that one. And I'm going to put this at 0, 0. And if I hit that, this is, I'm sorry that you're seeing two. I do have an old message that I don't want to use. I believe we say, if we can go back in, open modal is the message that we want. So I want to say open, well, I'm not going to retype it, I'm just going to use the dropdown, modal. And I want to send to component. And what's going to happen is we're going to send it to the current scene. So everything in the scene, we're sending off to anything that wants to receive a message. It's going to say open modal. We only have one component, so we can keep it as current scene. And when that happens, it works. So we're only using one message, which is open modal, because the close button is inside of the component. And now we're going to do something just a little extra. We're going to add some sound effect onto this. And let's go back to that work in progress, which we are on. I'm going to say playback. And we have the playback, which is the, which one is it called? Confirmation? Yeah. And we'll play it, but we also have to reset the playback after. Because once you play it, it doesn't rewind itself. Reset sound effect. Great. So we will then select confirmation sound effect. And now this should work. Great, it doesn't. What did I do? Playback, confirmation, play, reset sound effect. We need, oh, so I'm sorry, that was quite a bit of a reaction. So we need to say, hey, don't do it immediately. We need you to wait till you're finished. So I did it so fast that it actually overrode this. So we don't need a duration, it's just an instantaneous thing. So let's, there we go. Great, and that's how we make a component. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is tweak out some weird thing that I'm not a fan of. When I scroll and it goes from section to section and it turns colors, that's totally fine. I'm fine with that. When I go from one section to another, that's fine. I don't mind the colors animating. I don't like the way it animates all of the colors if I shoot down to the last one. or it makes these weird, like here it makes some sort of gold color because it's animating a bunch of colors together. So what I did is I made another color and I call it temporary temp BG color. What I want to do is make this color sort of appear immediately and then disappear very quickly. So while it's scrolling down automatically, I want this temporary color to be above this background color that's animating behind the scenes. I want this temporary color to cover it. It's a little bit of a smoke and mirror, and I think once I do it, you'll understand. All I'm doing here is I'm going to give this the fill of the first one. Let me close up this component container. I'll give it the fill of the first one. Okay. And I'm going to have, because I'm going to animate the color fill, opacity. Not the opacity, but the color fill. So, because I'm going to constantly change these colors. So I want to add a temporary color up and a temporary color down. So I'm going to call this temp BG color, color up, and then I will give it a fill of, it's going to be the fill of this pink, and then I'm going to animate it from 0, which it's at 0, and I'm going to animate it to 100, and I'm going to do it just how about at like 0.5, and then I'm going to animate it down, meaning I'm going to animate the opacity to 0, and I'm going to do that at a duration of 0 because I want it to be instantaneous, but I want to wait about like 1.1 seconds because I need the time for the scroll to animate to its proper section. So let's do a few of them. And by the way, I need to check the correct thing. So I need to select temp BG. I guess it didn't retain what I did. I'll animate that up. And then I'll animate it down again. Okay. And now let's copy and paste this, and I'm going to put it in every section. And I'm going to select both of these. Let's see if this works. Where's my, there it is, eyedropper. We'll do it blue. So it retains the values. Great. Guess the next one is eyedropper, that would be orange. Great. And then the last one is the green, eyedropper, green. And let's see if this works. Preview. Okay. Looks fine when you go from section to section. This is great. So now I'm not seeing those weird meshings of colors like I had before. That's awesome. And then the last thing I want to do, I know that I had it in my my overview, is I just want to set up a little fun condition that when I'm on laptop love, and I go to relaxation is key, I want to fire off a little sound effect. But that's the only time I want to go on want to have the sound effect, when I go from this button only to the 4th button. So I'm going to add a condition here, and I will go down. I guess it's getting cut off there, but I got it. Add a condition that says when this pill color, when pill color 1 is 100% white, and I want to say, by the way, when the fill color is at 100. So that means when, let's just do, sorry, not the fill color, the fill opacity, because then I would have had to put the color in. So when the fill opacity is at 100%, remember it's at 100%, the others I think are at like 20%, so this is like an easy condition to set up. When I have that, then I want to add this playback, and if you want, you can even go down here and copy these and go up to underneath this condition and playback sound effect, and then change it to the other sound effect that I have. And let's give it, I think if I recall, it had, it needed a little bit of a delay because it was too fast or something, like the sound effect it worked too fast. And then I want to be sure that I reset the sound confirmation, and I want to go to opening. So let's see if this works. And we can even do a little longer because it's more of a do-do-do-do-do sound. Okay. Let's give it a little playback sound effect. 0.08. Let's see. Okay. You could always tinker with these and change values and settings. I may have not have it perfect or the way that you may want it, and that's the whole beauty of all of this, is you get to tweak the values. Okay, so that's the tutorial. I hope that you stuck around for the entire hour, and I do really hope that you learned a lot. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me, and I will try to help you as best as I can. And if I can't, I will find someone who can. All right, take care, everybody, and I'll see you at the next tutorial.